Summer Split is here, and the LEC is back bigger and better than ever before. It is only fitting we take a look at first this split at the Spring Split Finals rematch. So strap on in as we listen to the roar of the crowd drive us into our teamfight breakdown between G2 and Rogue. So, let's kick things off with the drafts. G2 have gone with something oddly familiar to me, and obviously the Anarchy Analysis series, a Yasuo comp. All throughout this year, G2 have had the strongest of mid-jungle synergies, with Caps and Jankos being on a different level to anyone else in the league, and this draft is nearly the exact same as their MSI draft against EG, as 3 of the champions from that said draft that we broke down return for this comp. And during that video, we explained the combo that Diana and Nort provide for a Yasuo in that matchup. But this time, instead of the Vlad and the Nort, you have arguably 2 better setup champs for Caps, as Yone's Q3 and ult synergizes with Yasuo's ult, and Swain's new and improved E also works with the Last Breath too. Lastly, G2 have, instead of just the one infinite scaling champion in that center, they now have the Swain who will love to hit champions and get more and more health. Now, as for Rogue's draft, they honestly have a pretty similar comp to G2. Ornn, Wukong and Renata all have synergies with Yasuo Wall. So you may be wondering, why am I bringing this up? Sylas, baby. With the hijack, he can steal Yasuo's Last Breath, and in my opinion, provide a higher amount of scaled up ability powered ultimate damage on that Last Breath. Yeah, that's gonna do a lot more than what normal Yasuo's will do. But the big thing to note here for me is, I don't feel these champions suit the players. Larson is a control mage specialist. He is not a Sylas or a Yone or Yasuo player. He is more the Azir, the Corki, the Victor, these sorts of champions that are more lane dominant control mages and not these heavy fighters. You then have what I would consider a very weak bot lane, as Renata plus Aphelios, a champion that's been nerfed to smithereens, who is out of meta, really isn't that strong. You'd honestly prefer maybe a Zeriyumi. I don't remember the bans, don't get me wrong. But in my opinion, Rogue's draft just is very weak in comparison to G2's explosivity, as they're more used to piloting these style champions. Regardless, let's move into the actual play. So let's look at the play. 23 minutes in, we're at soul point for Rogue. However, G2 are up in gold and in kills. And the big thing to note here is the ADC diff. Flakkid is on the center, a champion with a hell of a lot more range, and can just proc and prod, use her W's, snare up champions and be a menace from range. Aphelios, on the other hand, being out of meta in my opinion, does not have the same luxury. And personally, I feel Comp gets outplayed heavily. He locks himself up with the Moonlight Vigil, which leads to a pretty easy play, as immediately the Moonfall flash from Jankos' Diana comes out, and like any good Yasuo comp, that Diana ult is immediately scuffed up by Caps, who uses the last breath on Yasuo, and a dawning shadow over the top puts Comp in a bailout status as he is just deleted. As that demolition happens, Broken Blade forces Sylas out of the fight as he flashes to try and get away from the death ball of G2 as the Fate Seal put him directly in that death ball. And he's just like, nope, I'm outie. He is not able to escape as the Ionian brothers flash onto the Unshackled, and while Rogue used their engage ultis from Wukong to try and stop the burst from taking out their mid laner, it is not enough as he gets taken out, followed by Malrang essentially trading his life for caps. But on the bottom side of the fight, it's a little bit weird, as Odo has just used his Call of the Forge God onto Flakked, trying to keep the ADC out of the fight, which is kind of a bit anti-synergetic, because Call of the Forge God's meant to gap close. Senna prefers the range, so trying to keep her out of the fight isn't going to do him too much use. And as Wukong falls, Broken Blade snaps back from the Soul Undone, and it's just a 3v1, and Odo gets ran down. And then the other side of things, Renata gets taken out, which arguably Renata and Ornn fairly useless in this fight, and as such he couldn't do much to keep his team alive. Neither of them could, and G2 just finished them off with relative ease, which leads to them getting their first Drake of the game. And then to Baron, that once we come back to life, G2 are just running it down top and taking this game pretty easily against what could be only described as a struggling Rogue who miraculously won against Mad, but we sadly didn't break down that Elder fight. Regardless, that is the end of this video. If you enjoyed this one, leave a like down below. We're back, baby, for summer, and I hope to see you guys for the next one, which will be coming out after the predictions for week 2. See you guys then.